What if your hair isn't falling out because of a shampoo problem, but because your body is quietly running low on one mineral almost nobody thinks about enough? I'm talking about zinc. And if your scalp has been getting oilier, your hairline looks thinner, your shedding is increasing, or your hair just seems weaker and slower to grow, zinc deficiency, or even just not getting enough usable zinc could be playing a much bigger role than you realize. Here's the interesting part. A lot of people are eating foods they think are healthy, but they're still not getting enough absorbable zinc to support strong hair follicles. So today, I want to walk you through how to build the ultimate high zinc hair diet using real foods from pumpkin seeds to oysters, and why this one nutrient can make such a dramatic difference for your scalp, your hormones, and your hair cycle. Because once you understand how zinc actually works in the body, you start to see why hair problems often show up long before people realize they're low. Let's start with what your hair follicle is dealing with every single day. A hair follicle is one of the most metabolically active structures in your body. That means it needs a constant supply of nutrients to keep producing healthy hair. And zinc is one of the key minerals involved in that process. Zinc helps support protein synthesis, and hair is made mostly of protein. It also helps with cell division, tissue repair, immune regulation, oil gland balance, and wound healing. That matters because your scalp is constantly renewing itself. If you're low in zinc, your body may struggle to maintain a healthy scalp environment, and your follicles may not perform the way they should. But zinc does even more than that. It also plays a role in balancing androgens, especially DHT-related activity. Now, DHT is one of the major hormones involved in pattern hair loss, especially in men, but also in many women. Zinc doesn't erase DHT, but it may help regulate the enzyme pathways involved in hormone conversion. It also supports the skin and scalp in ways that can reduce some of the inflammatory stress that makes hair thinning worse. So if you've got oily scalp buildup, dandruff-like flaking, slow regrowth, weak strands, excessive shedding, or thinning around the temples or crown, zinc should absolutely be on your radar. Now, here's the problem. Most people think they can fix this by grabbing one healthy snack, like pumpkin seeds, and calling it a day. Pumpkin seeds are great. They do contain zinc. But if you're relying on one plant food alone to restore zinc levels, especially if you're already depleted, you may not get the result you're hoping for. And that comes down to bioavailability. Not all zinc is absorbed equally. This is where a lot of people get confused. You can eat foods that technically contain zinc, but your body may only absorb a portion of it, especially if that zinc is coming from foods high in phytates. Phytates are natural compounds found in seeds, grains, nuts, beans, and legumes. They're not bad, but they can bind to minerals like zinc and make them harder to absorb. That means someone can eat a lot of clean foods and still not be getting enough usable zinc. This is one reason why people on very grain-heavy or plant-heavy diets sometimes start noticing subtle issues over time. Things like brittle nails, white spots on the nails, low appetite, reduced taste sensitivity, poor wound healing, acne, scalp irritation, and hair shedding. So if your goal is to build a true high zinc hair diet, you want to think beyond one food. You want a strategy. You want zinc-rich foods, yes, but you also want highly absorbable sources, supportive cofactors, and fewer blockers. That's how you create the kind of nutritional environment where hair follicles can actually recover. Let's start with the heavyweight champion, oysters. If there were a gold medal for zinc-rich foods, oysters would win by a mile. Oysters are one of the most concentrated natural food sources of zinc on the planet. They are incredibly nutrient dense, and they provide zinc in a highly bioavailable form. That means your body can use it much more efficiently than many plant-based sources. This is one of the reasons oysters are such a powerful hair supportive food. You're not just getting zinc, you're also getting protein, copper, selenium, B12, and other trace minerals that help support cellular energy, oxygen delivery, and tissue repair. Hair follicles love that. Now, not everyone is going to eat oysters every day, and that's fine. But if you can include them even once in a while, they're one of the best foods you can use to help replenish zinc stores naturally. Next, let's talk about red meat. This is another major source of highly absorbable zinc that often gets overlooked or unfairly demonized. Beef, especially quality beef, is rich in zinc, iron, B, vitamins, and protein. These are all critical for hair health. And unlike many plant foods, the zinc in beef is much easier to absorb. If someone has been eating very low fat, low red meat, or highly restrictive diets for a long time, it's not uncommon to see hair quality start to decline. That's because hair doesn't just need calories, it needs raw materials. And beef provides a lot of those raw materials. Lamb is another excellent option. It's nutrient dense, rich in zinc, and often easier for some people to digest than heavily processed meats or grain-based convenience foods. Then we have shellfish beyond oysters, things like crab, mussels, and shrimp. These can also contribute meaningful zinc while adding variety to your diet. Then come the underrated zinc foods that are easier to use more often. Eggs. Eggs may not be the most concentrated zinc source compared to oysters, but they're incredibly useful because they provide multiple hair supportive nutrients in one package: protein, biotin, selenium, choline, B vitamins, and some zinc. When you're trying to support hair regrowth, it's not just about one nutrient in isolation. It's about building meals that give your follicles what they need to actually manufacture strong strands. Eggs are one of the easiest ways to do that. Cheese can also contribute some zinc, especially harder cheeses. And if tolerated well, full-fat dairy can be part of a nutrient-dense hair-supportive eating pattern. Now, let's go to the food everybody expects to hear about: pumpkin seeds. Yes, pumpkin seeds are a very good food for hair support. They do contain zinc, magnesium, healthy fats, and some plant compounds that may support scalp and hormone health. But here's the key. Think of pumpkin seeds as a supporting actor, not the entire cast. They work best as part of a larger strategy. If you're using pumpkin seeds, a small handful can be a great addition to meals or snacks. They're convenient, they're easy to use, and they can absolutely contribute to your zinc intake. But if your hair is already thinning and your body is under stress, pumpkin seeds alone are usually not enough to rebuild what's missing. And remember, because they also contain phytates, the zinc they provide may not all be absorbed efficiently. This doesn't mean avoid them. It just means don't overestimate them. The same goes for sesame seeds, chickpeas, lentils, cashews, and other foods people often hear are high in zinc. They can help, but they're not the strongest foundation if your goal is restoring hair supportive mineral status quickly and effectively. Now I want to show you how to actually build this into a hair-focused eating pattern, because this is where people finally start making real progress. Instead of asking, what one food should I eat for hair? Ask this: how can I build each day around better zinc exposure and better zinc absorption? That question changes everything. Here's what that might look like. Breakfast could be eggs with a side of full-fat yogurt or cheese, maybe with some avocado or sautéed vegetables. Lunch could be ground beef, lamb, or steak with a salad and olive oil dressing. Dinner could include shellfish, beef, or another zinc-rich protein with cooked vegetables. And then your snack or topper could be pumpkin seeds instead of crackers or sugary processed snacks. See the difference? Now you're not hoping one superfood will save your hair. You're building a consistent, mineral-rich environment. That's how the body actually recovers. And there's another important piece to this. You also need to remove some of the things that interfere with zinc status in the first place. One of the biggest issues is too much refined sugar and too many ultra-processed foods. These foods can increase inflammation, destabilize blood sugar, stress the liver, and indirectly worsen hormone imbalance and scalp inflammation. They don't nourish the follicle. They drain the system. Another issue is excess grains and frequent snacking on foods that are high in phytates but low in bioavailable nutrients. Again, I'm not saying these foods are automatically terrible. I'm saying if someone is struggling with hair thinning and they're eating cereal, toast, crackers, granola bars, peanut butter sandwiches, and packaged snacks all day long, they may be crowding out the very nutrients their follicles need most. And then there's the gut. This is a huge one. You can eat zinc-rich foods, but if your digestion is weak, your stomach acid is low, or your gut is inflamed, you may not absorb minerals well. That means bloating, indigestion, acid suppression, poor gall bladder function, chronic gut irritation, and even frequent diarrheatation, and even frequent diarrhea can all affect how well your body uses zinc. This is why some people eat healthy and still have symptoms of deficiency. The food is going in, but the body isn't extracting what it needs. And if your hair has been thinning for a while, it's worth asking whether the issue is just low intake or low absorption. That's a very different problem. Now let's connect this to the scalp more directly. One of the signs that zinc may be low is a scalp that doesn't regulate itself well. Maybe it gets greasy too fast. Maybe you have flaky buildup. Maybe you have irritated patches. Maybe your scalp feels inflamed or itchy. Zinc helps support the skin barrier, immune function, and sebaceous gland balance. So when zinc status improves, many people notice that their scalp starts behaving differently. Less chaos, less irritation, less imbalance. That alone can create a better environment for healthy hair cycling. And then there's the immune side of this. Zinc is deeply involved in immune regulation. That matters because certain hair loss patterns, especially sudden shedding or patchy loss, can involve inflammatory or immune stress. Now, I'm not saying zinc is a magic cure for every form of hair loss. It's not. But if your immune system is dysregulated, your scalp is inflamed, and your follicles are under stress, zinc becomes even more important. It's one of those foundational nutrients that helps the body stabilize. And hair tends to improve when the body becomes more stable. I also want to point out something a lot of people miss. Hair loss is often not caused by one dramatic deficiency. Sometimes it's caused by a long, slow drift away from nutrient sufficiency. You skip quality protein. You eat more processed foods. You snack more. You rely on grains and convenience foods. You cut back on red meat. Your digestion gets worse. Your stress goes up. Your sleep goes down. And over time, the follicles start paying the price. That's why the answer usually isn't one pill or one trick. It's rebuilding the terrain. And zinc is a major part of that terrain. Now, if you want to make this even more effective, there are a few nutrients that work alongside zinc and should not be ignored. Protein is number one. If you're not eating enough protein, your hair is going to struggle no matter how many seeds you eat. Hair is protein. Follicles need amino acids. Iron is another important one, especially if someone has fatigue, heavy shedding, low energy, or signs of poor oxygen delivery. Vitamin A, selenium, biotin, B12, and vitamin D also matter. And if your diet is full of empty calories but low in nutrient density, you may have several small deficiencies all stacking together at once. That's often what's really happening. Not one giant problem, just a lot of smaller nutritional misses that finally show up in the hair. So if you want the ultimate high zinc hair diet, here's the big takeaway. Start with the most bioavailable zinc foods first. Oysters if you can get them. Beef and lamb regularly. Eggs often. Shellfish when possible. Cheese or other nutrient-dense dairy if tolerated. Then use pumpkin seeds and similar foods as supportive extras, not the whole plan. Reduce the foods that block or crowd out zinc. Support digestion so you can absorb what you eat. And remember that hair recovery is not usually instant. Hair grows in cycles. That means if you improve your nutrition today, it may take several weeks or months before your follicles fully reflect that change. But the good news is this: follicles are often more responsive than people think when you finally give them the right environment. And sometimes the difference between continued thinning and stronger regrowth starts with something as simple and as powerful as rebuilding your zinc status through real food. Because when your body has the minerals it's been missing, your scalp starts to calm down, your follicles get better support, and your hair finally has a better chance to do what it was designed to do. One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to fix hair loss is focusing only on what they can see on the outside. They change shampoos, buy expensive serums, massage the scalp or switch to hair growth oils, but they often overlook something much deeper happening inside the body. Hair follicles are not just sitting there passively. They are highly active mini organs that depend on a constant supply of nutrients to keep producing strong, healthy strands. One of the most important nutrients in that process is zinc, and yet it is one of the most commonly underestimated minerals when it comes to hair health. Zinc plays a direct role in the growth and repair of tissues throughout the body, and that includes the scalp and hair follicles. Every hair strand begins with active cells inside the follicle dividing and multiplying. For that to happen efficiently, the body needs zinc. Without enough of it, the follicle may not function at full capacity. That can mean slower growth, weaker strands, more breakage, and an increase in shedding. Many people assume hair thinning only happens because of age or hormones, but poor zinc status can quietly make those problems worse over time. Another major reason zinc matters is because hair itself is made largely of protein, and zinc is involved in protein synthesis. If the body cannot properly build and repair protein structures, the hair often becomes thinner, weaker, and less resilient. This is one reason some people notice their hair feels dull, fragile, or lifeless before they even notice obvious hair loss. The follicle may still be producing hair, but the quality of that hair is no longer what it should be. Zinc is also essential for maintaining a healthy scalp environment. A lot of people with hair issues are not just dealing with shedding. They are also dealing with scalp symptoms like excess oil, itchiness, flaking, irritation, or inflammation. These scalp issues can create a less favorable environment for healthy hair growth. Zinc helps support the skin barrier, regulate immune activity, and assist with healing and repair. When zinc is low, the scalp may become more reactive, more inflamed, and less balanced. In many cases, the scalp starts showing signs of stress before the hair itself noticeably changes. There is also a hormone connection that makes zinc especially important. Zinc is involved in enzyme activity related to hormone balance, including pathways linked to androgens like DHT. DHT is one of the key hormones associated with pattern hair thinning, especially around the temples, hairline, and crown. Zinc does not act like a magic off switch, but it may help the body regulate some of the internal processes that affect how hormones interact with the scalp and follicles. If someone is already sensitive to DHT, poor zinc status may make the situation harder for the body to manage. One of the reasons zinc is such a missing link is because deficiency does not always look dramatic in the beginning. It often builds slowly. Hair may start shedding a little more in the shower. The scalp may become oilier or more irritated. Nails may weaken, skin may break out more easily. Healing may slow down. These signs can seem unrelated, but together they often point toward the body struggling with mineral sufficiency, and hair follicles tend to be one of the first places where that struggle becomes visible. One of the most important things to understand about zinc is that simply eating a food that contains zinc does not guarantee your body will actually absorb and use it efficiently. This is where a lot of people get confused, especially when they start looking into hair foods online. They see lists that mention pumpkin seeds, chickpeas, lentils, nuts, whole grains, Oysters, beef, eggs, and shellfish, all in the same category, and they assume these foods all work the same way. They do not. Some foods provide zinc in a form that is much easier for the body to absorb, while others may contain zinc on paper, but deliver far less of it in a usable form. This difference comes down largely to bioavailability, which simply means how much of a nutrient your body can actually absorb and put to work. Animal-based foods like oysters, beef, lamb, shellfish, and eggs generally provide zinc in a much more bioavailable form than many plant foods. That means if you eat the same amount of zinc from two different sources, your body may end up using far more from the animal source than from the plant source. This matters a lot when someone is trying to support hair growth, because hair follicles do not just need zinc present in the diet, they need enough absorbable zinc reaching the tissues consistently. Pumpkin seeds are a perfect example of this misunderstanding. They are often praised as a top hair food, and they do contain zinc, along with magnesium and healthy fats. But they also contain phytates, which are natural compounds found in seeds, nuts, legumes, and grains. Phytates can bind to minerals like zinc and reduce how much the body absorbs. This does not mean pumpkin seeds are bad. It simply means they should not be viewed as a complete solution if someone is relying on them as their primary zinc source. They can support a hair-friendly diet, but they are usually more helpful as a side player than the main strategy. The same idea applies to foods like lentils, beans, cashews, sesame seeds, and whole grains. These foods can contribute some zinc, but they often come with the same absorption issue. Someone might feel like they are eating all the right foods, yet still end up low in usable zinc over time, especially if their diet is heavy in plant-based staples and light in more absorbable sources. This is one reason why some people with very clean diets still deal with hair thinning, weak nails, poor skin quality, or a reactive scalp. On the other hand, oysters are one of the most powerful zinc foods because they deliver a very concentrated amount in a highly usable form. Beef and lamb are also excellent because they provide zinc alongside protein, iron, and B vitamins that further support hair structure and follicle health. Eggs may not contain as much zinc as oysters, but they offer a strong nutritional package that supports the hair growth process from multiple angles. This is why it is not enough to ask which foods have zinc. The better question is, which foods give me the most usable zinc for my hair and scalp? Once you understand that not all zinc foods work equally, it becomes much easier to build a diet that actually supports stronger, healthier hair rather than just looking healthy on the surface. If someone wants to build a diet that truly supports hair growth, it is not enough to just sprinkle a few healthy foods into the week and hope for a big transformation. Hair follicles need consistency. They need a steady supply of the right nutrients, and one of the most important of those is zinc. But just eating more zinc-rich foods is only part of the equation. The body also has to be able to absorb, transport, and use that zinc effectively. That is why the best hair supportive diet is not simply about what you eat, but also about how your overall eating pattern either helps or interferes with zinc absorption. The strongest foundation starts with foods that naturally provide highly absorbable zinc. Oysters are one of the best examples because they are incredibly rich in zinc and deliver it in a form the body can use efficiently. Beef and lamb are also powerful options because they provide not only zinc, but also high-quality protein, iron, B vitamins, and other nutrients that support follicle health. Eggs are another useful addition because they are easy to include regularly and bring together protein, selenium, biotin, and some zinc in one simple food. Shellfish can also help broaden zinc intake while keeping meals nutrient-dense and hair supportive. Supportive foods like pumpkin seeds still have value, but they work best when they are used as part of a bigger strategy rather than the main solution. A small handful of pumpkin seeds can be a helpful snack or topping because they add zinc, magnesium, and healthy fats, but they should complement stronger zinc sources rather than replace them. This is where many people get stuck. They lean heavily on one plant-based superfood and overlook the foods that are more effective at delivering the nutrients hair follicles actually need. Another important part of building a better zinc supportive diet is reducing the foods that crowd out nutrition. Ultra-processed snacks, sugary foods, refined grains, and low-protein convenience meals can displace more nutrient-dense choices. Even if someone is technically eating enough calories, their follicles may still be undernourished if those calories are not bringing in the minerals and amino acids required for healthy growth. Hair is one of the first places where poor food quality tends to show up because the body does not prioritize it when resources are low. Digestion also plays a huge role in whether a high zinc diet actually works. Someone can eat the right foods, but if they have poor stomach acid, gut irritation, bloating, or frequent digestive issues, they may not absorb minerals efficiently. Zinc status is not only about intake, it is also about what the body can extract and use. That means a person with hair thinning may need to think beyond food lists and consider whether their digestion is supporting or limiting recovery. When you combine highly absorbable zinc foods, enough protein, fewer processed foods, and better digestion, you create a much more favorable internal environment for hair follicles. This is what makes the ultimate high zinc hair diet effective. It is not based on one miracle ingredient or one trendy snack. It is based on giving the body the right building blocks in a form it can actually use so the scalp becomes healthier, the follicles become better supported, and the hair has a stronger nutritional foundation to grow from.